All right. Um, as I'm about to make this video, I can hear like sirens and people talking. You know, I was making a video and somehow my phone's just turned off because of the battery. Because it wasn't charged, and so I started like looking for a a plug. And as I say that, they're like, "Oof," because they see what's happening to my body, right, to my brain. And I'm like, oh, yes, I know I'm dying, and you don't know when you're going to die. And this is what you're doing while you're living. Some of them have dedicated how many hours. And so I find some satisfaction in that. And sometimes they get mad and immediately they start to go into their little repetition scripts. Oh, they are. Because I'm just saying they don't know when they're going to die. You see, they're really escaping reality in every ways. Um, as a target individual, you are forced to accept this persona. For me, I've mentioned they do these petty fear things, right? And these people are here. It's like, no, they are. We're just analyzing you, right? And they're using these childlike people who are, like I said, try to escape from reality, and they call it being a war, but they're not a war. They just do what they're supposed to be doing. This is their job. They do these things where they manipulate you to think in these certain ways, to be manipulated in these ways, and they use these childlike people who have no shame. They use these childlike people who who paint themselves in like this childlike people who some of them just like try to make themselves be like, oh, we're this group of family, like a startup. You can't even say so. There's this my employer, the employer is responsible for me being here. Um, he put me in this program, and they sponsored this uh, alleged pedophile that when he was younger in his 30s was allegedly picking up kids from like the YMCA, right? And let's just say I'm not gonna say his name. His name, let's just say it's Lee Den, right? Uh, these people have been like every time they try to make me subscribe to these things, like, oh, can you even say Lee Den? You can't, right? Matter of fact, right now they're just taking advantage of the fact I'm not saying the real name and say Lee Den, and that shows what they really are. There's this guy outside who was like, "Oh, but they castrate people like you." Was like Lee Den. It was like, as if I said the name of like some mystical being. I've seen people who are threatening me, looking at me in a threatening way, and I say Lee Den. Oh my gosh, it's like they're walking away as if I was. And the name is not really Lee Den. I'm just saying that name because I don't want to say the real name, and because I just don't want to say who the people behind this. Uh, but let's just say Lee Den. They were like, and they was like, "Oh, it's our world. We are gods." I was like, "Gods, can you say Lee Den?" They go into something where they're like, "Oh, we did this," as if they did what Lee Den did. What Lee Den did is coming from them. No, I'm just saying that I know who put me in this program. I know where you stand in this, and I know you're just a bottom feeder. You cannot say lead then. I'm saying lead then openly. I'm not trying to find a way to say it. I'm saying it in front of you. Once I was they tried to manipulate some storyline. Uh I was out and I was getting some food and I see a bunch of people following me, a group of people. And I looked at them and I said, "Can you say lead then?" I said, "What?" So okay, you can't. I said, "What? You crazy?" They couldn't say that. They live off a reality they put together. What they do to counter? It's like, oh, you're fired. First of all, I know the people who hire me to fire me. One thing is for sure in this, as a target individual, you know that the people who employ you as a target individual at this point really are trying to take advantage of you being a target individual. So I understand that. But the reason why they're blocking out The fact that they can say lead then is because it put things in perspective. They are here doing everything possible to make you accept these manipulations, these things they put together, this BS that is so falsified. All the different ways they try to make you subscribe to it. There's a few things that happen that they try to, and I know it's them, right? I remember the next door neighbors. Sometimes you hear them like they obviously you hear neighbors are always involved, right? You hear neighbors involved in these situations, and neighbors are supposed to make you subscribe and accept this thing. They do this noise campaign. For me, the noise campaign is very ironic in the sense that they they throw trash, and them throwing the trash is a way to make noise campaign for you to stop or to block seeing something. I I look at it as this is a metaphor for actually what your life is. You guys are the trash. You guys are the trash. You're making those campaign using trash, but this is a metaphor for what you really are. You guys are the trash that needs to be. So going back to my neighbors, the next door neighbors, they like young. Some I think I see there's a family there, and I think there's somebody who's like there's like a couple, like a young, gay couple, and not very young, but I've seen them right before trying to make themselves try to make themselves seen. I've seen one of them. She's like tiny, like skinny girl, and I can't stand them. I'm gonna take pictures of them because I've once taken one picture of them. I just for some reason I erased it, but I want to show how these people are supposed to make you subscribe. You look at these people, it's like, oh my gosh, they're such a bottom feeders. They're so pathetic. And I remember hearing somebody going in their apartment, and I'm looking at the people, and I stopped getting my eyes was blurred. Like for some reason, it was blurry. And this person, which I think is one of the girl who's coupled with somebody else, and I could see she was wearing a skirt, and they tried to really make her look voluptuous. They can do this thing, and it was at the same time I was getting this blurry thing, like my eyes were just getting blurred. And I'm like, this person has no this this I don't know where these curves come from, but this not hers. And they can distort what you see because they want you to look at these people in a sexual way. And you look at this person's like, I have more body curve than her, and I'm very skinny. And they were trying to say, "Oh, you see, it's like I know you forced me to. You can distort what I see. This is this is maybe what you wish she looks like, but it's not natural. I've seen her like her shoulders, because they like to say I'm pop out. Her shoulders as popping out as mine, and I'm very skinny. And you see, and you see these people like going off with the manipulation they've created. It's like you are. That's why I take pictures. They can make things look something else. They can distort. I'm like, I've seen this person. It's like you are forcing me to look at her in this way. And they're trying to get mad. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, no, you're pathetic. You're sad. And this is at the time where there was this person. I remember I used to live in a different neighborhood, and I saw this scooter that I always wanted to buy. I was thinking about purchasing a scooter, and I see this red scooter, and it caught my attention. As I'm seeing it crossing to my apartment, I see this person coming toward me. This person, I couldn't even tell exactly her age. I think she's like between 17 to 20, right? They start making me look at her and give me some stimulations and everything else. And because this person is somebody who's hard to tell the age, they can like create this perception. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember like the whole neighborhood. I could hear people screaming, oh, whoa, whoa. Like, and they were playing with my brain and playing and create this different perception of her. Create different perception of that. That's why you hear this noise campaign. Hold on. Hopefully you can hear that. I hope you can hear that. You hear this trust? This is a children's like, oh, pedo. Because they want the box in the state. They even use kids. And it's because this person could be like either a 17-year-old or a 20-year-old. I don't know. It's like or 21. Like it's just those people you don't know immediately. Now understand, they have to manipulate this. They have to create things. While they cannot say lead then, and they have kids who's running around. Arpedo. I wish I captured it. And I think they know I was filming and I had a microphone because I do want to capture when they use their kids. It's so disgusting. These people are pedophiles. Well, well, in the midst of that, well, in the midst of that, this is what's happening in those agencies. These people are filled with pedophiles. And that's why you hear these kids making those campaigns. You hear that? Please, please, please. This is what these kids are used to do the nose campaign, and they're like, "I'll pay though," and they're doing some stimulations. They're stimulating me while this is happening. While these kids are making nose campaign, they're stimulating me. They're like, "I'll pay though." They think I'm gonna let them live their fantasy, and I think they ran before I was gonna listen to the BuzzFeed article about why there's so many pedophiles in these agencies, such as this. In the meantime, they want me to not only guess somebody's age, but I'm manipulated and forced to look at kids and look at people who are young in this weird sexual ways. So when there's somebody who could pass for an adult, oh my gosh, and that's in my mind, and I remember they worked so much on her. It was like different ways of stimulating and all. It just it's like, oh, you see, that's proof. This person, first of all, could pass for somebody who's an adult, but I don't even know. She's like 17 to 20 something. I don't know. Two, it was so forced onto me. Oh my gosh, they were forcing me to, and you could hear people outside say, "Oh, whoa, whoa!" All the manipulation possible to force me to look at her in a sexual way, to force me to look at her in an interested way, and now it's boxed in the way they want it. Well, these people cannot say Lee, then you understand? They're like castrate him. It's like say Lee then, say Lee then. You know why? Because you work for pedophiles, and this shows how pedophile centric these people are.
Overseas America's spy satellites acknowledge viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency? In our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is so bizarre. It's so evil. Ali, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top level
This is
security?
the Warriors.
Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, "Hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job?" You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind those computer screens within the walls of Langley, within the Pentagon, and throughout the broader intelligence community? Johnson, you're fired.
Why? You understand? These people are trying to make you believe that they are here trying to catch pedophiles. Reality, they're trying to turn you into one. And they want you to accept this manipulation as if you're one.